Hey. Hi. Hello. So, game two. Period one is done. We are in the intermission now. And so, I have a lot of notes here that I have taken. And I mean like a lot of notes. Like, I want you to just take a second here and we're just gonna. Okay, there's the bottom. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot that I'm gonna be talking about here just in the first period alone. So, first things first, some roster changes. Cody Cece and Corey Perry are out of the lineup, and Desharnais, I think his name is Vincent Desharnais, and Sam Carrick are in the lineup for the Oilers. I didn't see anything about any changes to Florida's roster. I don't think there was any. So that's fine. Now, the game begins, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching. Okay, we're about 3 minutes in, and I go, all right, this is a very much of a less chaotic opening compared to game one, because if we remember anything about game one, the first 3 minutes was just so back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then Florida scores. I think that was like 4 minutes in. But at the start of this one, it felt pretty calm. It felt pretty calm. There were some moments, where the Oilers were struggling, I would say, to clear their zone, and Florida had some really, really, really good chances to actually score, but they couldn't. And so I'm sitting there and I'm going, okay, again, a little bit of a less chaotic opening, right? And then we get the first penalty, which is just a tripping penalty. Nothing really comes from it, right? The Oilers, I would say, they get some good chances on that power play. Looked kind of like they were going for some set plays that they had planned out, but they just weren't able to connect. Florida just was able to get their sticks in the way and just break up the passes that they were going for. So that penalty is killed off. Right? Now, this is where things happen. All of a sudden, we're like, where are we? I think we're probably about 8 minutes into the game, 9 minutes into the game. This is where everything goes nuts. Okay? Darnell Nurse goes down the tunnel. Okay? I see the replay because I didn't see the hit happen. He took a hit, and I'm going, that looks like a pretty innocent hit. Okay, so is it his shoulder? Is it his collarbone? Maybe his wrist? I don't know. But he left the game. He went down the tunnel, went to the dressing room, and yeah, right? And then that kind of continued from there on out. There were some very big hits from the Oilers on Panthers players. And then there was just this one hit, this knee-on-knee collision between Fogel and Luosterainen. And, looking at that replay, it looked so painful. It looked like, oh, jeez, just cracked my knuckle. It looked so, so painful. And, of course, it's a 5-minute major. Game misconduct. Fogel is done for game two. He is done for game two. Like, nope, you're done. No more game two for you. Right? So Florida's got a 5-minute power play that cannot be canceled, even if they score, because it's a major. But then Oliver Ekman-Larsson takes a tripping penalty, so that 5-minute major they had gets cut down because now they're going on to a 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. That's about a minute and a half in, I think it was. What did I write down? I wrote, it was about a minute and a half in, right? Shortly, I would say into that 2 minutes, maybe 45 seconds into those 2 minutes of the 4-on-4, Matthias Ekholm just takes a slight little wrister when it's a 2-on-1 break for the Oilers, and it just sneaks through Sergei Bobrovsky's 5-hole. It just kind of sneaks through. You look at the replay and it looks like it just flies through, but then when you look at the live angle, at least the angle that I was looking at, it looked like it snuck through his 5-hole and the puck just kind of dribbled into the net. So Bobrovsky might have had a piece of it, but it snuck through. Now, this is a crazy stat that I just find insane, but that was the first goal of these playoffs that Bobrovsky has let in through his 5-hole. And of the 38 goals that he has let in across these playoffs, 31 of them have been above his shoulders. So he has let in 7 goals prior to that one. 7 goals just above his legs and kind of between in the glove and blocker area, and 0 through the 5-hole. That was the first one he let through in the 5-hole. I just thought that stat was absolutely ridiculous. Right? Okay, and then we find out, okay, Nurse comes back to the bench after going down the tunnel. So maybe he's okay. Maybe that hit was nothing, and maybe he was just kind of stung a little bit, and he had to kind of work it off a little bit. Also, Luosterainen is back on the bench, which surprised me more than Nurse, because usually a knee-on-knee hit is pretty intense to the point where like they can't come back to the game. So the fact that Luosterainen came back from the game is a pretty big deal, meaning he might actually be hurt, but not to the point where he can't play anymore, because it's the playoffs. If you're hurt in the playoffs, but you can still stand up, you're playing in the game. That's just going to be how it is, right? Now, the 404, that's a highway. The 4-on-4 is over, and the Panthers have about a minute and a half left on their 5-minute major on that power play that they had. But nothing's able to come from it. It kind of looks like the same thing that happened with the Oilers in their power play, where they were trying to do some set plays, but they couldn't actually connect on anything. Yeah. And then more craziness happens. It's insane. Nurse goes back down the tunnel into the dressing room. What? So he leaves after taking a hit, which looked like nothing, but might have been something. Comes back to the bench, and then after the power play is done, somewhere in there, I think there was about 5 minutes left in the period, he's back in the dressing room. I would very much like to hear an update on this guy. Please. I have not, as of yet, I haven't even gotten anything saying that he's not coming back. He is coming back. I haven't heard anything about it yet. Maybe we'll hear something about it in the second period. I don't know. But we'll find out. And then here we go again. Ugh. McDavid goes 200 feet down the ice, has a beautiful chance on net. Nothing happens from it, but here's the fun part. He falls, gets a little tangled up with Ekblad, and that fall. Ooh. You watch the angle that his ankle goes, Ekblad, you watch the angle that his ankle moves. That's like potentially a fractured ankle. And he's down the tunnel. But lo and behold, he's back on the bench. Okay. Right? So, what? So that part where I said this is a very less chaotic first period compared to game 1, I was very, very wrong about that. Very, very wrong about that. Oh boy. Right? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, clearly any effects on the Oilers from game 1 are not there at all. The Oilers are playing great. Florida is also playing decently, but it kind of seems like everything's kind of switched. Right? Where at the end of game 1, or kind of towards the end of game 1, it looks like Florida really started to take off and everything started to shift in Florida's favor. But now it looks like things are shifting into Edmonton's favor all of a sudden at the start of game 2. So who knows what happens, right? And then just to be fun, right at the end of the period, I think less than a minute left, Evan Bouchard takes a very undisciplined penalty, sticks his elbow up right in, I was about to say Keith Tkachuk. It is his child. It is his son. Matthew Tkachuk. I was about to say Brady, but that's the other one. Matthew Tkachuk. Right up in his face. The Oilers go to the penalty again. They've already had a 5-minute major, and that turned out decently for them. Not saying this is going to be any different, but it did. And that's where the period ends. Right? It ends. Florida's on a power play starting the second period. Edmonton's down a man. it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting game, honestly. Like, it very much seems like things have switched from game one to game two, and now it kind of seems like things are going towards Edmonton's favor versus Florida's favor. But there's still 40 minutes of hockey left to play. We still have a lot of time left to go. So let's go watch period two, second period. We'll go watch it. We'll come back and we will talk about it and see where we're at. All right. I will be back shortly. Okay. So we are back after the second period. And before we even start talking about the period in and of itself, first off, Darnell Nurse still is not back on the bench, which isn't entirely a surprise at this point, but yeah. But also, Evan Rodriguez. I was about to say Revan Rodriguez. That's not his name. Evan Rodriguez is also not on the bench for Florida. But then the period starts and he's shown on the bench shortly after. I don't really know what that's about, but I'm not even going to worry about it. I am not even going to worry about it. So, now, the first bit of the second period, the power play that the Panthers started with is killed off. Was it the Panthers that started with it, or was the Oilers that started with it? Hold on. I want to make sure I get my facts straight. Hold on a second here. It was the Panthers. Yes, the Panthers did in fact start with the power play, but that is killed off by the Oilers. And then it just kind of chills for a bit. And then Kachuk takes a hooking penalty. He gets his stick right in the hands of Connor Brown. That's a hooking penalty. And that'll give the Oilers actually a 5-on-4 for a minute and a half. Because that actually, I was very wrong. I just had to reread my notes here. But that actually happened pretty quickly into the power play that the Panthers had. Right? Okay, hold on. Is that what it was? Yep, that's what it was. That penalty happened very, very quickly at the start of the period. So that's going to cut the Panthers power play to a 4-on-4. And then that's only going to last for about 30 seconds. And then the Oilers get a 5-on-4 for a minute and a half. That's what it is. Okay, I got it. Cool. All right, now that power play, I will say, was looking a little better than the first period for the Oilers. But, again, still nothing can get past. Honestly, at this point, I don't think there's going to be a power play goal for either team in this game. There might be a handful more penalties that come and power plays that come, but I don't think that there's going to be any more. And I say that after watching the entire second period. So they do end up showing that Darnell Nurse is, in fact, back on the bench. I don't know when he showed up on the bench, but he's back. And we're just over 5 minutes into the second period, and he still hasn't played a shift at that point. He still didn't play a shift at that 5-minute point. He wants to play. Obviously, he's on the bench. He wants to play, but somebody is not letting him play. Obviously, they're not going to tell us why, but somebody is not letting him play. I don't know who it is. I don't know what they want, but it's not going to happen, right? And then we go through like 5 more minutes of basically nothing happening, and I'm sitting there watching this game going, I'm not going to have anything to talk about in the second period. But then the Oilers take a shot, and I just wanted to point this out. They take one shot, and it's hilarious because I'm pretty sure that I saw Bobrovsky physically jump in his crease. And to me, that is like always really, really funny when I just see a goalie standing there watching a shot, and then they just jump. Like, I find that hilarious. I just kind of wanted to point that out. Now, we're just under halfway through the entire game, so we're just under 10 minutes left in the second period. And the broadcast that I'm watching goes to a commercial break. We come back from the commercial break, and lo and behold, somebody else has gone down the tunnel. And it's Leon Draisaitl. For why? Who knows? But then literally right away, Mikola ties the game. Lundell just gets a beautiful drop pass, and Mikola just snipes it straight past Skinner. It is a 1-1 hockey game, and that is 2 goals in this game by 2 defensemen. That's a fun fact. Yeah, again, it kind of goes through a little bit of quietness, and then I went, oh, Draisaitl's back. I didn't know he came back. The only reason I knew he came back to the game was because I literally sat there and went, oh, he's back. Cool. Good to know. Good to know. And then again, more quietness happens for a few minutes. And then there's a tripping penalty on Carter Verhaeghe, and Edmonton gets to go on the power play. So it's 5-on-4, right? And then we get the first controversial call of the Stanley Cup Finals. Stenlund clears the puck out of his zone, and it goes over the glass. Now, from my experience and my understanding, if a player launches the puck and it goes over the glass, it's a delay of game, right? But there might be some differences to the rules because the broadcasters, the guys that were talking about the game, were saying that was he in his defensive zone or was he in neutral ice? So maybe there's something to do with that, maybe when it's on the power play. But they show a replay, and Stenlund and the puck are still in the defensive zone. It is clear as day on the replay. So the refs don't make that call for delay of game, for getting it over the glass. That's going to probably be a pretty controversial call. But lucky for the Panthers, they get out of a 5-on-3. And it would have been a lengthy 5-on-3 because, again, the Verhaeghe penalty was still happening, and I'm pretty sure they were only like 20 seconds in. So that would have been 1 minute and 40 seconds of 5-on-3, which is a long time for a 5-on-3. Clearly, the Oilers are very upset, though, about that, and they just start launching pucks onto the net. But Bobrovsky makes some huge saves. There was the one where I don't even know how he made the stop. I don't know who was on the side of the net. I think it was Draisaitl, probably. That's his side of the net, so I'm assuming that was him. And Bobrovsky just kind of just is set. The puck goes over, and then Bob just kind of goes, whee! And just lands on the puck and stops it. Like, that was... That one, I would say, is pretty big. Although I will say, big shout out to the crossbar for making a stop on, I think it was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It was Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Big shout out to the crossbar for Florida. Florida better give that crossbar MVP. Like, come on. And then right at the end of that power play, Evan Bouchard takes another penalty. This is his second of the game. They were saying it was slashing. Now I will say I didn't see the penalty happen. I didn't actually physically see the slashing happen. I didn't physically see it actually take place. So sure, I guess. I'm not saying it wasn't a penalty. I'm just saying I didn't see it happen. I just actually didn't physically see anything happen at that point. So, okay, sure. Power play for Florida. And holy cow. Sam Bennett with a beautiful, beautiful chance to get it right in the net. But Stuart Skinner played it so well. Wonderful positioning. Squared himself up, moved himself out of the crease a little bit, and just kept the puck out of the net and kept it a tie game. That power play finishes, Edmonton kills another penalty, and then the last 2 minutes go by completely empty of events, and we are done the second period. Now at this point, I'm going to go back on what I said about how it felt like things had shifted, where it went from Florida being in favor there to Edmonton being in favor to now I'm saying this is actually feeling like a decently even game. Aside from that one missed call on the puck over the glass, which very, very well probably would have resulted in a goal because it's a 5-on-3, and if they don't score on a 5-on-3, I'm sorry, there's a problem there. I truly do believe that this game at this point is decently even. It could go either way. It is a tied game. It is 1-1. Florida's getting their shots, and Stuart Skinner is making some great saves. Edmonton is getting some great shots, and Bobrovsky is making huge saves. Both teams kind of seem like they're playing pretty evenly. So it all comes down to the third period. It's not like game one where it was 2-0. It is a tie game. It is 0-0. It is almost as if we are in next goal wins territory. Yes, there's 20 minutes left in the game, but it feels like we are in next goal wins territory. And that is crazy for me to think about. So let's go. Let's watch the third period and let's see who comes out on top of this, because I am really, really excited to see who takes this game. All right, here we go. Alrighty. Well, so officially, as of recording this, the game's not actually entirely over. There's about 2 minutes left in the third, but it's starting to get late, and I have to wake up early in the morning. So we're going to talk about the third period quickly, because I believe that at this point, the game is over. I don't think there's going to be anything else that happens. So, here we go. Now, on the broadcast, they put a stat up, basically right at puck drop, that said that in the playoffs, Edmonton was 0-4 when tied going into the third period, and Florida was 4-1 when tied going into the third period. That stat is brutal. Now, it was a very quick opening to the third period. There was a lot of action going on, a whole bunch of back and forth. It was about 3 minutes straight of just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then Evan Bouchard tries to get a clear out of his zone, turns it straight over into Evan Rodriguez, who just fires it right past Skinner, and Florida takes a 2-1 lead. And we're like just over 3 minutes into the third period, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be next goal wins territory, and that's still what it felt like at the time. We went through a whole bunch of quietness for about 7 minutes. 5 minutes? 5 or 6. I would say about 5 or 6 minutes. And I went, oh yeah, Darnell Nurse. He's a guy. He's back on the ice. He's had a couple shifts. So I don't know exactly when he started playing again, but he has had a couple shifts, so he's playing. Not a lot. I'm pretty sure they've been short shifts. It kind of seems like they were short shifts because I haven't noticed him at all. So yeah, that happened. And then again, it seemed like a pretty quiet period. Kind of felt like it was going to end 2-1, and so I was like, okay, kind of a quiet period. Not too upset about that. But then they stopped play. And I go, wait, what happened to Sasha Barkov? Why is he lying down on the ice? Okay, why are all the Florida Panthers players attacking Leon Draisaitl? Did he do something? Yes, he did do something. Watching the replay back, he jumped into Barkov's face. Yeah, he jumped into Barkov's face. That's a penalty. And that is a roughing penalty. I thought it was going to be a charging penalty because he skated from a decent distance down the ice and then jumped into him. So I was like, oh, that'll be charging. Nope, just roughing. I guess I just don't know what penalties are, apparently. So that's the thing. So Draisaitl goes to the box and Barkov leaves the ice. Another player gone. But this one is probably because of concussion protocol, because he got hit in the face. That makes sense. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think he came back to the game. He might have, but I don't think he did. I genuinely don't think he did. I haven't heard anything, but I still don't think he did. But on the ensuing power play for the Panthers, it finally happened. There was a power play goal. I said during the second period recap that I didn't think there was going to be a power play goal, but there was. Evan Rodriguez just let the puck just jump off of his stick, off of a shot from Lundell, and there you go. It's 3-1 for Florida, and there's still about 7 minutes left in the game. There's still about 7 minutes left in the game, and it's 3-1. And I'm going, I thought this was going to be a quiet period. We got 7 minutes left, and there's been 2 goals. I'm ready for more hockey. Let's go. Right? But again, a whole bunch of quietness. And by a whole bunch of quietness, I mean like, probably about 30 seconds of quietness. There's a little bit of rough stuff going on, and so we get some 4-on-4 hockey. And McDavid gets what would basically be considered a breakaway, but Tkachuk is there giving him some pokes and kind of playing around a little bit, so it's not a clean breakaway. But still, it's McDavid. Anything can happen. It's McDavid. Come on. But Bobrovsky keeps the door closed, and it's still 3-1 for Florida. Skinner then gets pulled with about 6 minutes left in the game, and I'm going, that's a really long time. But then I realized it's 3-1. They need 2 goals, so that actually kind of makes sense. Yeah. But then Oliver Ekman-Larsson gets sent to the penalty box for puck over the glass. So I'm honestly guessing that that was probably a makeup call for the one that was missed in the second period. That's my kind of view on it, but it's fine. Skinner stays out of the net. He stays on the bench. So we get a 3-man advantage. Because remember, Kachuk's not in the box because it's a 4-on-4, right? So it's a 4-on-4. And then Skinner goes to the bench, which makes it a 5-on-4. And then OEL goes to the box, which actually makes it a 6-on-4. I don't have 6 fingers, so I'm just going to do this. A 6-on-4. So it's a 3-man advantage? 2-man advantage. Wait, what? 4-on-4. 4-on-4. Skinner gets pulled. He goes to the box. 6-on-3. There we go. 3-man advantage. But it's only for 8 seconds. Obviously, nothing happens. Skinner stays out of the box. It's a 6-on... Skinner stays out of the box. Skinner stays out of the net. It's a 6-on-4. They still don't get the goal. They still don't get anything. Aaron Ekblad gets an empty net goal. It's 4-1. There's about 2 minutes left. I go, game's probably over. I don't think anything else is going to happen. I got a couple notifications throughout recording this that, yes, in fact, it did end 4-1. And Florida takes a 2-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Finals, heading back to Edmonton on Thursday. And Edmonton is in a corner. I'm not going to lie. After the first period, it felt like things had switched. After the second period, it felt like things were pretty even. After the third period, Florida is looking almost unstoppable. Almost unstoppable. Right? I will say this. In my, I guess you could say, preview of the Stanley Cup Finals that I made, I think it was last week on Wednesday, I was saying that I think the biggest difference is going to be goaltending. And it kind of seems like that's what it is. I would say that all the skaters are playing generally equal. But Bobrovsky is just outclassing Skinner right now. So, I don't know what Edmonton's going to do for Game 3. At home, even, for goodness sake. I genuinely don't know what Edmonton's going to do. Like, do they put Pickard in for Game 3 to see if they can figure something out? I'm not saying that Skinner's been playing badly, but I don't know. Something might need to change. It's very possible that something does. Who knows? Anyway, Florida's up 2-0. We're back in Edmonton. We're going to Edmonton for Game 3 On Thursday, will Edmonton be able to make it 2-1, or will they fall 3-0 and be in sight of a sweep in the Stanley Cup Finals? We will find out on Thursday. We will find out on Thursday.